I am Nancy, 28 years old, and an office worker. I got married a year ago, and now I'm enjoying married life with my husband. My husband, a systems engineer, has frequently been on site at client locations and on long business trips even before we got married, so we've only lived together for about 2 months in our first year of marriage. 2 days after our wedding, he left for a long business trip, and we couldn't even go on a honeymoon. However, my husband had an unusual 2-month stint at the head office, so we took this opportunity to schedule a 2-week vacation together. It was for our long-awaited honeymoon. I'm so glad you're happy, Nancy, my husband said with a genuinely happy smile. But life wasn't that sweet. The day before our trip, an urgent business trip came up. I'm sorry. This job is something I've been involved with for a long time, so I can't ask someone else to cover for me. It would also affect the trust we've built with the client. You're truly my understanding partner. I don't want to be such an understanding partner. I don't want to understand even a little bit. But I can't say that. It's fine. Your flight is early tomorrow morning, right? I'll take care of everything else. I'm really sorry. I promise we'll go someday. With that, the conversation about the trip was settled. However, there was one more thing that had been bothering me, and I had to ask my husband. Are you really going on a business trip? What? I didn't want to doubt him, but living like this had made me suspicious. Hearing my words, my husband suddenly realized something and gently held my hand. I'm really sorry. But please believe that I'm not lying to you, he said, and the next day, he left the house early in the morning. Half a month flew by. As I exited the subway and walked down Main Street, I spotted a familiar figure ahead. What? It was my husband, who was supposed to be away from here. Beside him was a woman with a short bob haircut. It was my sister. What is going on? Moreover, my husband was pushing a stylish baby stroller, and my sister had her hand on his arm. They unmistakably looked like a family. I recalled my husband's recent behavior and my sister's past demeanor, nodding to myself as I quickly approached them. Hey, sis, when did you have a baby? Hello, darling? The look on their faces when they turned around simultaneously at my voice from behind is something I'll never forget. With a smile, I said, meet at our place at 8 p.m. tonight. No excuses, and walked past the stunned pair. My husband and I met by chance. About 5 years ago, my sister texted our family group chat saying she had sprained her ankle at work. I happened to have driven to work that day, so it was decided that I would pick her up and take her home. After work, as planned, I parked my car near her office building and went to pick her up. I saw 2 people with her, and one of them was my husband. Nice to meet you. I'm Nancy, Millie Moriaka's younger sister. I'm sorry for any trouble my sister has caused. Nice to meet you. I'm Rick, Millie's colleague. This is Sasaki. We had a doctor look at her, and even though it's just a sprain, it's pretty swollen, walking seems tough, so Ed and I helped her with her things. I gave a slight nod to the 2 of them and expressed my gratitude. Thank you both. I appreciate you taking the time despite being busy. No problem. I'll take her from here, so thank you very much for your help, I said, taking my sister's belongings and supporting her shoulder as we headed toward the parking lot. Then Rick said, I'll come too. But I don't have any plans, and the car is nearby, right? He said, supporting my sister from the other side as we walked to the parking lot. Nancy, thanks for today. Don't mention it. Are you okay? What about work tomorrow? You can't take the train, can you? I can pick you up. What? I don't have a car, but I can meet you at the nearest station by train. Although his kindness was appreciated, realistically, commuting by train would be difficult for a while. Also, since Rick was a systems engineer like my sister, he wouldn't have time to help her every day. It's okay. I'll drive her every day. Really? Are you sure? Of course, I have no problem driving to work. We'll have to coordinate our schedules for a while, but is that okay? Absolutely. Thanks, Nancy. Then I'll pick you up in front of the building every day. What? Since I'm not an employee, I can't enter the building, but I'll help with your stuff. But. Thank you, Rick. I'll treat you to lunch sometime. So, that's how we decided to handle my sister's sprain. For a few days, we managed to leave work at the same time, but one day, when I arrived in front of the office building, my sister wasn't there. Instead, Rick was waiting. Good evening. Good evening. Sorry, Millie's going to be late today. She's in a meeting and can't contact you, so I came to tell you. Apparently, there had been a major issue with my sister's team, and they were having an emergency meeting. All right, I'll wait and have a light meal until she's done. We don't know when the meeting will end. Are you sure you're okay with that? It's fine. Thank you for going out of your way, I said, bowing and starting to walk away when Rick called out again. Mind if I join you? What? My work is done, and I'm from a different team. Isn't it more fun with two people than one? I couldn't refuse him as he smiled at me, so we ended up eating pasta, drinking coffee, and even having dessert together. Sorry, I kind of forced this on you. No, I was curious about what kind of person you were. It was nice to have a chance to chat, I replied. He nodded in satisfaction. Same here. Ever since I first met you, I've been curious. I've wanted to talk to you more, he murmured, making me blush. After talking today, I'd like to get to know you better. Can we exchange contact information? After that, we naturally started texting and calling each other. Even after I stopped driving my sister to and from work, Rick and I continued to meet for meals and drinks, and eventually, we became a couple. Though he never explicitly said anything, we spent weekends together and went on trips. Perhaps we were both bad at expressing ourselves, letting things happen naturally. One day, my sister noticed something. Nancy, are you dating Rick? What? Why? Recently, Rick talks about you a lot at work. Really? That's surprising. Knowing that he talked about me at work, especially to my sister, made me incredibly happy. I must have been grinning from ear to ear. Seeing my expression, my sister frowned slightly. Nancy, don't bother Rick. What? Rick is very important to me too. So don't trouble him. What do you mean by important? I met Rick first and have spent more time with him. If he's not doing well, it affects me. Maybe she was right. She'd known him for years and worked closely with him. She probably knew him better and depended on him more. Still, her words felt off to me. Could it be that my sister likes him? I once wondered. But even as Rick and I continued dating and eventually decided to get married, my sister neither welcomed nor opposed our relationship. I thought maybe she just felt awkward about her junior dating her sister or becoming her brother-in-law. The day my wedding was set, 6 months later, after a family dinner, my sister suddenly spoke up. I'm moving out. What? Moving out, why? Why now? I'm sure my parents felt the same way. The three of us looked at her with the same puzzled expressions. I'm 30 now. I can't stay at home forever. But, if I move out and then you move out too, Mom and Dad will be really lonely. Well, that's true. But I have to move out either way. Why? I've been assigned to a long-term position. What? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My sister, also a systems engineer, had her share of business trips. However, most of her assignments were within the region, making her trips relatively short and infrequent compared to my husband's. A long-term assignment. I couldn't hide my surprise. There wasn't any talk about this before, right? Yeah, but I thought it was a good opportunity to change my environment. Why? When I got the offer, I thought it was a perfect chance. I wanted to see more of the world. But still. Well, the long-term position is in Kanagawa. It's just too far to commute from home. I'll definitely come back for the wedding, but I'll be really busy and probably won't be able to contact you much. I'm sorry about that." With those words, my sister moved out of our parents' house without leaving any room for argument. A while later, we met again at my wedding, after 6 months apart. My sister looked well. In fact, she seemed happier than when she lived here. "Nancy, congratulations." "Sis, thank you. I just wanted to say, even though it's late, I think you were the Cupid for us." "Thank you, and I hope you find happiness too." "Thank you, Nancy. Don't worry, I'm happy. It's going to be tough for you adjusting to married life, but you'll do great." Those were my sister's typical words of blessing. In hindsight, everything might have been encapsulated in those words. A happy sister, a challenging time for me. Did she have a child with my husband? I slumped onto a bench in a nearby park, pressing a handkerchief to my sweaty brow. "What's going on?" I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. As I did, things became clearer and something clicked in my chest. It was nearly 1 p.m. I had about 7 hours. I need to find out. I retrieved an old contact from my address book and tapped on the name. Around 8 p.m., the doorbell rang in the living room. It was my husband and sister. The fact that they rang the bell instead of using their keys showed their apprehension. "You have the key. Just open the door and come in." I told my husband through the intercom and returned to the living room sofa, waiting for them. A moment later, the two of them timidly entered the living room. My husband looked uncomfortable, and my sister, holding a baby, looked down with a displeased expression. The baby was sleeping soundly. "How old is the baby now?" "What?" I asked how old the baby is. "A little over 4 months, I guess." "A little over 4 months. So you were already pregnant at our wedding, right?" Both of them remained silent, saying nothing. Their silence was a more damning confirmation than any words could be. I had been deceived by both of them throughout my marriage. "So, you used the long-term assignment as a cover to start your own family?" "That's just the worst, Millie." "Nancy. Getting pregnant by your sister's husband and then attending their wedding, was that fun for you? How did it feel?" "Nancy, stop it. Why was my husband trying to stop me in this situation? Was he really taking her side over mine?" My tangled thoughts made me spew more and more venomous words. "What? Why are you butting in? Are you siding with my sister? That's not it at all. I'm on your side, Nancy. I love only you." "Love? You're saying you love me now? You betrayed me while pretending everything was fine. And what about the business trip? You were supposed to be on a trip right now, weren't you?" "Well, I know the truth. There was never a business trip, was there? I know you've been going to work as usual. Let me guess, Millie asked you not to go, and you obliged. Isn't that right? How did you know? Why? Do you think I can't figure things out? All I had to do was ask the company. I've also exchanged contact info with Ed." "What? You exchanged numbers with Ed?" Ed was the other junior colleague of my sister who was with Rick when my sister got injured. Rick probably never imagined that Ed and I had connected. Rick's shock was almost laughable. "What? Are you surprised that I exchanged numbers with Ed? But when did that happen? During my sister's injury, you weren't the only one who helped her out, you know." "Huh? When you couldn't make it, Ed stepped in to assist my sister. That's when we exchanged numbers. I haven't contacted him since then, though. In reality, the next time I saw Ed was at the wedding. As one of Rick's colleagues, he attended with others from the company, and we exchanged a few words. That was it. But at the wedding, Ed and I had a brief chat. He asked me something that now seems quite telling. Is he living properly at home? At the time, I thought he was asking if you could manage household chores since you'd always lived at home, but now I see it was different. He was asking if you were actually coming home. Rick turned pale at my words. According to Ed, Rick's business trips were not as frequent as he had claimed. There were a few short ones occasionally, and only a few long ones since he joined the company. But Rick had used these business trips as an alibi to fool around with multiple women. Even while having a girlfriend, he continued to cheat, a real playboy. And my sister had been one of his many casual partners for years. Despite knowing this, he had the audacity to approach me right in front of her. I couldn't understand that mindset at all. Ed knew all about your antics, how you always fooled around, and how you were involved with my sister. He was shocked and disgusted that you showed interest in me in front of my sister. Ed said that? Of course. We're sisters. You don't mess with sisters. It's common decency. For someone like Ed with a normal sense of decency, it was revolting. He thought that about me all along. Given that you were casually messing around with my sister, he thought there was no way you'd make me your main focus. So he stayed silent and observed. But you, with unbelievable gall, made me your main focus and reported it to Ed in the office where my sister works. Ed glanced at my sister and saw her looking at you with teary eyes, right, sis? My sister was visibly shaken when I suddenly addressed her. Her shoulders trembled dramatically, and she muttered softly, but... Of course. You finally got rid of the previous girl, were treated kindly when injured, and thought you could finally be the main woman, right? As expected, I had hit the mark. And for the first time, my sister bared her fangs at me. So what if I did? Just because you became the main wife doesn't mean you can get cocky. I've known Rick since he joined the company and have always watched him. I knew he'd be interested in you. Is that so? Of course. Do you know how long I've watched Rick? I know what kind of women he likes, what makes him happy. I've seen it all for years. Don't think you know Rick better than I do. My sister's true feelings were exposed. At that moment, I felt I understood what my sister meant when she said important person. My sister had always loved my husband deeply. But despite her heartfelt confession, my husband remained expressionless, seemingly unaffected by her words. Isn't that just your one-sided delusion, sis? What? Look at Rick. He's not reacting at all. My sister bit her lip, her face turning red as if she was holding something back. She must have known that Rick's heart wasn't with her, that he wasn't looking at her. To me, her actions were terrifying because I couldn't understand them. It doesn't matter, look at the reality. There's no problem. What? I gave birth to this man's child. Even if we're not married, even if I'm not his wife, I gave birth to Rick's child. Compared to your relationship, which is just a piece of paper, I'm much more of Rick's family. My words must have really hit a nerve. My sister lashed out with a loud voice, shouting. Giving birth to his child seemed to give her a sense of empowerment. But you're still just another person. What? Men and women, without a formal bond, are just other people to each other. The child may be connected by blood, but you're not. Did Rick ask you to have the child? That's... My sister stumbled over her words, and I sighed in exasperation. Seeing the scene earlier today, I had secretly realized my sister's selfish actions. Did you stop taking birth control on purpose to get pregnant? What? You were taking birth control for a long time. It's hard to believe you got pregnant otherwise. How do you know that? What? Did you think I didn't know you were on the pill? But... Come on, how long have we lived together? I've known for years that you were on the pill and that you kept track of it meticulously. I even confirmed it with Mom. What? You talked to Mom? So the only explanation for the pregnancy is that you stopped taking the pill on purpose. Rick seemed deeply shaken by this revelation. He must not have known that my sister was on the pill. What? So she made herself more likely to get pregnant on purpose? It seems so. Didn't you know she was on the pill? Of course not. I didn't care. Seeing my sister's hurt expression made me feel sick. And my husband's disregard for women as people sent chills down my spine. So you used protection every time? Of course. It's a hassle if things get complicated. Then why did she get pregnant? Whether she took the pill or not, using protection should have made pregnancy unlikely. She said it was a safe day, so we didn't need to use anything. I pulled out at the end, but it wasn't enough. Damn it! I thought it was my fault for failing to use protection properly, so I told her I couldn't marry her, but I'd recognize the child and help as much as I could. I never wanted a child with her. I buried my head in my hands. What an idiot. If he thought that was contraception, he was incredibly naive. It was a miracle nothing had happened before now. My sister started crying uncontrollably. That's so cruel. What? You're the one who said you didn't mind if I stayed with Nancy as long as I didn't abandon you. Sure, you're attractive, and you did everything I said. That's why I kept you around as one of many. You had many others too, huh? What, you knew? I had no idea. Ed told me everything. All the things you hid from me. What? Like how you moved out of your parents' house a long time ago and were living alone, bringing over one-night stands and other women. Ed told me everything. What? Why? I never imagined he was living alone. I had accepted his supposed life at his parents' house without question. Not once did I doubt it. I felt an overwhelming surge of negative emotions toward my own obliviousness. After I saw you two earlier today, I met with Ed. He told me all about your despicable life as a single man. He was shocked when you started dating me. He was disgusted by your audacity to talk about me in front of my sister. Despite lying about your business trips to visit my sister's place, and your sudden decision to marry me, he said he could say nothing. Listing Rick's unbelievable actions made my chest tighten, my throat constrict, and my breath shallow. With a secret child with my sister on top of everything, it was all too much to believe. But Rick's indifferent words made it impossible to deny the reality. Nancy, listen. I really love you the most. That's why I married you. I was ready to end everything else when we got married. I really planned to cut ties with everyone else, and I even gave up my apartment. But everything got derailed because she got pregnant. My sister roared at his words. That's cruel. Rick, you always said this child is cute. Don't try to make things look good for Nancy now. That's just a result. When I decided to marry Nancy, you started living alone, stopped taking your pills without telling me, and got pregnant as part of your plan. I told you many times to get an abortion, but you refused. We fought about it, and by the time we stopped, it was too late to terminate. That was your plan all along, wasn't it? So what? You used me whenever Nancy was busy or had her period to satisfy your desires. Who was the one doing that? Hey! Shut up! Even before that, I always supported Rick. And then, suddenly, you got interested in Nancy, started dating her, and decided to marry her. You met Nancy because of me, and then you just abandoned me. I couldn't stand it. That's why I wanted to make sure you could never leave me. With a child? Yes. If I got pregnant before Nancy, I thought I'd have an advantage. Rick is a pushover when it comes to women. I knew he wouldn't force things if I caused trouble. And just as I thought, here we are. What? Sure, you said to abort the baby, but you never forced me or abandoned me. You even pretended to be on business trips to help out at my place when I was heavily pregnant. Even after the baby was born, you kept saying you were on business trips just to help out at my place. Like this time, when our baby suddenly got sick, you canceled your honeymoon and came to help. Nancy, doesn't this mean he cares about me more? More than his wife on paper, the mother of his child is more important. Isn't that right? I couldn't deny my sister's words. They were true. From behind, they had looked like a picture-perfect family, unmistakably happy. As I struggled to find words, Rick hurriedly raised his voice. "No. I don't care about her. I care about the child. That's all." "What?" "I've said it many times, I intended to end things with her. The physical relationship was convenient, that's all. But she got pregnant and it was too late to abort. I don't care about her at all, she's a nuisance. But the child is innocent, right?" "That's true. But, is this because of your own upbringing?" Rick seemed to struggle with my question. "Nancy, you understand me." "Yes. My dad left us when I was young, and my mom raised me alone. I know what it feels like to grow up without a father. I didn't want my child to go through that." I sensed this was Rick's genuine feeling. While he appreciated his mom, he couldn't escape the loneliness of not having a father. I'd heard this from him before and felt it during our time together. But my sister couldn't accept this. She looked shocked and deeply hurt. "What? I've never heard this before." "Of course not. I never felt like talking about myself with you." "That's cruel." "That's how it was. My relationship with you was just that shallow. I genuinely love Nancy. If you had just kept taking the pill, none of this would have happened." Rick's words crushed my sister, who collapsed in tears, clutching the baby. I caught the baby's innocent eyes in her arms, and my heart ached. "From my perspective, both of you are to blame." "What?" "You had a baby to one-up me, and you, Rick, who claimed to love only me, were fooling around with other women and stayed connected with my sister. You hid everything and lied throughout our marriage. To me, you're both equally unbelievable and unacceptable, and likely to the baby too." Both Rick and my sister turned to look at the baby. The baby's innocent eyes made my sister break down further, apologizing repeatedly in a daze. Rick watched her with vacant eyes. "It's over." "What?" "I can't stay with you any longer, nor do I want to," I said, shoving the completed divorce papers in his face. "Nancy, wait!" "Wait for what?" "We were wrong from the beginning. We should never have been together. Now, we'll discuss everything through the lawyers. Get out right now." "Wait! Nancy! I waited. I've been waiting all this time." "What?" "I waited for you to come back from your business trips, all alone. Have you ever imagined what it felt like for me, waiting for you, feeling like this?" I can't wait anymore. Get out. I don't want to see your face ever again." I pushed both my husband, trying to make excuses, and my still crying sister into the hallway and drove them towards the front door. My voice echoed through the entryway, and Rick finally moved slowly to open the door. Desperate for them to leave, I shoved them outside and quickly shut the door. As the lock clicked into place, tears flooded from my eyes. In the empty room, I finally let myself cry out loud. Afterward, my divorce from Rick was finalized surprisingly quickly. Clinging to hope, Rick hadn't filed the divorce papers until my lawyer contacted him, but faced with the undeniable evidence of his actions, he couldn't make any excuses and agreed to all my terms. With the help of Ed, who said, "I've gotten involved this far, let me help you," I moved out quickly, leaving unwanted items for Rick to dispose of. My parents cried when I told them. Apologizing through tears might be more accurate. After the move and once the divorce was settled, I returned to my parents' home for a breather. "Nancy, I'm so sorry. Mom and I didn't notice anything." "Of course, you didn't. I didn't even notice. How could you?" But still. Even at the wedding, I should have noticed something. As a mother, I should have known. It wasn't obvious. Her belly wasn't even showing. "Nancy! I'm truly sorry. As for Millie, Mom and I will talk to her. We'll also talk to Rick's parents, with him present. Our daughters." Hearing my father's words, my mother burst into tears. My part in this is over. Please, don't make things any bigger. But it's fine. Actually, I don't want to be involved anymore. So please, handle things however you see fit. Since there's a child involved, this will be mom and dad's first grandchild if you don't consider me. Well, that's true, but regardless of those two, the child is innocent. Please make sure things work out favorably for the child. But make sure they know I'll never forgive them. Nancy. So, I'm not going to be involved with them anymore, and I don't want to hear about them. I'm sorry, but I probably won't be coming back here for a while. My mother couldn't stop crying at my words. Despite that, my father bravely smiled at me. All right, but promise me one thing. What? Don't try to handle everything on your own. If you need anything, please rely on us. No matter what, we are your parents and always on your side. Okay. With that, I left my parents' home. After taking a long vacation meant for a honeymoon, I returned to work post-divorce, much to the shock of my colleagues. They welcomed me warmly. A talented and beautiful woman like you returning to the single life? Lucky us. Hey. Did you always think of Nancy that way? Hey, that's borderline harassment. What? I'm not the only one. Nancy is popular with everyone, okay? I mean it in a good way. They welcomed me back with laughter, despite the unexpected circumstances. Of course, there were those who spread rumors just for the fun of it. Any place with a group of people is like that. The fact that I had returned post-divorce and had been cheated on was true, so I didn't bother addressing it. However, some baseless and distorted rumors did get to me. Still, those inappropriate comments were eventually squashed by my colleagues' interventions and warnings from the higher-ups. The real victory over the rumors came with my success at work. My team, under my leadership, was entrusted with a major project. This is huge. Being given such a responsibility is a testament to your hard work and results. Congratulations, the department head said, and my team celebrated together. Of course, getting the assignment was just the beginning. But I had complete confidence in my colleagues, bosses, and my current team, surrounded by trustworthy people. I had a strong feeling from the start that we would succeed. And then, I got a message from Ed. He told me that my ex-husband and sister had both resigned from the company. I don't know the nature of their relationship or what led to this. But Ed mentioned that they had left city. I simply responded with a thank you and sent the message. Even months later, I'm not fully over it and haven't been back to my parents' home. My communication with my parents is limited to surface-level greetings. Maybe I should be moving forward more and handling things better with my parents. But after being deceived for so many years, I don't want to engage with people right now. Honestly, I'm scared to interact with others. But the pain from that time is gradually fading. Food that once tasted terrible is now enjoyable. I can now pass by the hotel where we had our wedding without breaking down. I'm slowly changing. So, maybe someday, I'll be able to visit my parents' home and face my nephew.